TruthSeekah and/or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and/or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Shit, Wi-Fi.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark savage!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark-sided stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah podcast. Excited and delighted to be with you guys again, sharing this sacred space, this sacred breath with you all. Just thankful to be here, man. It's beautiful stuff. So, got an awesome podcast planned for you guys tonight. Impromptu interview, kind of nostalgic for me. We're going to be talking about some old memories and some stuff dating back in the late 90s, early 2000s. We're going to go back on you and then bring it back to present date and what's coming from this band here. So I'm already, seeing a bunch of people talking in the chat. Everybody excited to be here. The band is These Five Down. Some of you guys have never heard of them before, but as I'm reading in the comments, some of you guys have already went and checked them out since I put this podcast teaser up, and you guys are saying, wow, this is really good stuff. So don't know who they are, but you enjoy the music. That's good stuff. Make sure you guys go check them out, whether it's, after this podcast or whatever, but it's going to be good. We're going to get into some deep stuff. So want to say a huge thank you to everybody supporting my work via Patreon. Could not do this without your help. This show, my music, everything moving forward is listener supported. So really, thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you would like to support, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There you get access to my entire discography of music. It's like 200 plus songs. You get access to our Thursday night School of the Mystic session, which is like the community aspect to what we're building here. And, the hangout, Discord, all that really cool stuff. You get access to it. You're looking for community, looking for like-minded people, make sure you head on over there and check that out. So, I want to give a shout out to the latest patrons within the last week or so. Shout out to Robbie Bowen, who just became a patron today. Shout out to you, Robbie. Thank you so much for coming on board. Isis Gate, Astrid, Jeremy Smith, and Debbie George. Thank you guys for believing in the work and partnering with me in this endeavor. So I just released my latest album, Colors, January the 1st. It came out, and so that's available. If you're a patron, you get access to that, or you can go to iTunes or wherever you consume music, and it should be there as well. TruthSeekah Colors, check it out. So without further ado, I'm not going to keep these gentlemen waiting. I have Brandon and Nate from the band These Five Down. Brothers, welcome to the show, man. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks for having us.
What up, YouTube?
What up? Everybody in the chat say what's up, man. So These Five Down, man. It's an honor to talk to you guys, man. Back in the early days of my Christian experience, probably 2002 maybe. I became a believer again in 2000. Came back to the Lord, and was looking for Christian music, and I was listening to bands like Korn and stuff like that at the time, and Cold Chamber, and went with some church buddies at prayer meetings and stuff. I said, I need some Christian heavy metal. What is some Christian heavy metal? And they said, I got the perfect band for you. I was like, okay. It's a band called Audio Adrenaline, man. They're heavy. So I was like, okay, Audio Adrenaline is the Christian. So I'm going from listening to Korn to listening to Audio Adrenaline. I was like, it is what it is. And then I found some heavier stuff.
Yeah, that's how it is in the beginning. Yeah.
In the beginning. And then I found some stuff like Living Sacrifice, which was a little bit too heavy for me. And then at the time, and then eventually I found a band called Travail. And I was blown away to find pretty much a Christian version of Korn at the time. After Travail, it was a band called These Five Down from Michigan, right? You guys, I mean, you know what I'm saying? You guys in Travail, early on that, you know what I'm saying, new metal, rapcore-ish kind of stuff, man. There was nothing like it for Christians to listen to. And everybody, there was a lot of charts out there, like these comparison charts, like, if you're a Christian and you don't want to listen to Korn anymore, you don't want to listen to Marilyn Manson or whatever. So they had these comparison charts that say, okay, this band sounds like Manson, this band sounds like Cold Chamber, and it was cool early on, right? So I found you guys, and that was, like I said, probably back in 2001, 2002. So it's a pleasure, and to be able to have you guys on my podcast now. You guys released your first album. What was it like? I think it's 18 years ago this month, was it? Was it in January of 2000?
Yeah, 2000.
Yeah.
18 years ago, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Had you just asked me to pull that date? You're obviously the researcher. I wouldn't even have been able to tell you when. I knew it came out in 2000.
It's better not to think about it. Like, time is scary, man, right? I mean, that, because the whole thing with, you know, being a parent and or putting out material, now you have something that dates yourself. Like, when you look back, you see your kid growing up, you're like, oh, wow, time is real, right? And then you have these albums, you look back, 18 years ago, don't tell me that. And, you know what I'm saying? And then so much has changed, and you know what I'm saying? You guys are here now, but that early music, especially that album changed Christian music, because it was, you guys were like forerunners to, like, you know what I'm saying, that type of sound and what came after. And I'm gonna shut up here in a minute. I'm just kind of fanboying out a little bit, man. It's just an honor to talk to y'all. But you guys posted this on Facebook, and for those of you guys who can't see it, I went ahead and purchased that. Yeah. Somebody had a mint condition. They took really good care of it. It's like in perfect condition, bro. It's like a mint condition ad for the debut album, and on the back we got a picture of one of my other favorite Christian rock bands. It's kind of, these guys would be with the if you was to do the comparison with 311 back in the day. This is PAX 217.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I remember those guys.
Yeah, I remember them.
I seen those guys a bunch at a lot of different festivals and skating rings and things like that. Never got the chance to see you guys. Hopefully here, maybe within the next upcoming months, maybe, you know, we can make it happen. I remember talking to you, Nate. Oh man, this was probably 2005 maybe. I was trying to book a show, and I actually spoke with you on the phone for a few minutes. I was trying to get the funds together to bring you guys down, but it didn't work out, and you know what I'm saying, kind of fell through. So I'm done fanboying out, man. I'm gonna let you guys talk a little bit. Let's start off with.
Where are you at?
I'm in Mobile, Alabama. So I'm all the way south. So but. Right. Let's talk a little bit about the first album, man, because that thing kind of, like I said, I think it changed Christian music and what was to come after and what was okay. Talk a little bit about you know what I'm saying, the sound of the album. You know what I'm saying, were you in like the writing process, were y'all trying to emulate your favorite secular bands at the time, or what was the whole inspiration behind the first These Five Down album?
I think we all had our influences, not necessarily all Christian. You know, some people had been believers longer than others. But I guess everybody had their influences, and I think they all, I mean, and obviously we had certain ones that we had in common. You know, I guess everybody just kind of brought their own to the table, really.
Yeah.
I mean, in the beginning, I mean, we were pretty young. I don't know if we even had a goal. It was just, we were kind of just, I think we were just trying to make stuff that we were excited about, you know, as like listeners. Like, this is something, you know,
that we felt was cool.
Yeah, that we want to listen to.
That,
you know,
that felt like it fit with the sound of what we were exposed to at that time. You know.
Had you guys had heard about, you know what I'm saying, Travail or any of these other Christian metal bands at the time? Because you guys were like pioneers to some of that stuff.
No, I wasn't really aware of any of them.
I feel like, yeah, maybe we were kind of heavier, hardcore-ish than what was out there, kind of in the surface of the Christian scene as far as Christian rock stuff. We were heavier at times than some of that stuff, but being, you know, coming up, playing these small little places around, you know, the underground scene.
Mm-hmm.
There was and there still is, and there was prior to us, but there was a lot of heavy stuff. It's kind of like regular mainstream music. It just never kind of breaks wide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe we brought that harder, heavier edge into the Christian rock scene on a broader scale because we got picked up by radio a little bit, and, you know, stuff like that. And maybe that helped to usher in, because I know after we were kind of on that scene, there was some other heavier stuff come up, and, you know, maybe we were just right there at the right time, you know, during that mix.
I think it's interesting how he mentioned, because I don't think we were aware of it. I honestly still wasn't even today, but him saying that we were kind of front runners in that, in bringing that to the Christian scene. It's interesting that you would say that, because I feel like, I think we all did. We honestly got, I feel like, discouraged here and there because we took a lot of flack for what we were doing at that time.
Sure.
A lot of people open to it. A lot of people weren't very encouraging about what we were doing musically.
The devil's music. I mean, come on.
Exactly. And also, I think another part of it too is before we got the deal, we didn't come up in, we were believers and we had Christian music, but we didn't come up in the Christian scene. We played bars and stuff. Like, that was where we kind of, you know, started playing, because we didn't know where to play. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't really a part of a Christian scene, I guess. You know, we had our beliefs, right? But
we were aware,
right?
But we didn't just stick to that scene.
It's like we grew up in church, but when we started playing shows, it kind of began with backyard barbecues or just anywhere really. You know, it wasn't necessarily a Christian environment, I guess. You know.
So with that, you know what I'm saying, breaking the mold and the stereotype early on, and you guys played some bars and stuff like that, and you guys were probably better received in the bars and stuff in the backyards versus at some of the youth groups and stuff. Did you guys, you know what I'm saying, make that you know what I'm saying, those rounds as well in the youth groups and get some of those weird looks, and as soon as the first note is strummed, they're like, turn it off, you know?
It
was really weird.
In some settings, it was we're a bit much, maybe more than they had experienced prior.
Yeah,
that took a long time though.
So much of it now, it's pretty cool how. There's stuff obviously now that's way more extreme than anything we were ever doing, and people are totally open to it.
going back to your Audio Adrenaline, I guess in that time, Audio Adrenaline was, Christian rock. They were what people thought of when the term Christian rock was used.
Yeah.
That's what people gave me was the Audio Adrenaline album, and it was something from going from, listening to Korn, listening to Manson, Pantera, Cold Chamber,
Right.
who I felt, you guys were like a great embodiment for me for Cold Chamber. I was a huge Cold Chamber fan, and to hear your vocals,
Yeah.
Nate, and the way you approach the mic, your cadence as well, and just I guess if you want to call it new metal at the time, it was perfect. So from going from listening to, Cold Chamber and all that stuff, and then listening to Audio Adrenaline, you feel kind of let down until you find these Five Down or that band that kind of replaces, the old secular music that you were listening to. And there was a lot of Christians who had that experience or whatever. They found their favorite, secular band, like a Christian version of it. And I know that even kind of sounds cliche and like a knockoff, like I'm not my own entity, because what you guys brought to the table, had your own style to it as well. But as far as saying that like you're just like a Christian version of that's definitely not what I'm trying to say. But you're going to get the comparisons. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the
Like
the Christian music.
in that genre. Yeah, we would be in that genre. And that's the kind of stuff we like. I mean, obviously everybody had different influences, but I think the core of a lot of stuff that we all mostly agreed on, it would be in that vein.
Approaching, some of the songs on the old album, the first album, there's so many songs on there that stand out, man. I mean, it's almost like every song could have been a single, right? Just pick which one you want to release. Obviously, some of them are deeper than others. There's a sense of spiritual warfare in the vocals and stuff like that. Were you going through some of that stuff? Have you been through intense spiritual warfare or anything like that? Because it definitely came across in the lyrics with media, with Low, with him, especially with him. But was there that kind of theme approaching the writing process of the album?
There was, it's funny you say the whole spiritual warfare. I mean, I think everybody kind of deals with some of that throughout some of their life. But I had a lot of my background. I had this sense of, it is a war, a battle. This life to there's a battle between good and evil, sort of thing going on. And I always gravitated to this sense of, I'm going to be one of those people in God's army. I'm going to be a warrior for God's kingdom, sort of, that appealed to me.
Does that come from being a warrior of Satan's kingdom at one point, causing destruction, just living reckless? And so, I talk to a lot of people on here who are like in the light now, whether they're Christians or light workers or whatever. And there's this weird sense of like, I have to, even if it's not, at the forefront of their consciousness, it's like, I'm doing this, I'm serving God now because I'm trying to undo a lot of the wreckage and bad stuff that I did in the past. You think some of that was there a little bit too?
Maybe not so much, tied to because of, or that I had to undo the bad stuff. It's just more of a sense. It actually, I'll touch on that for a second. I look back and some of where I was personally and spiritually was I can look back and see that I was a little off base on some of my position of who I thought I was. You know what I mean? But that edge, that warrior sort of spirit warrior edge did come through and that's, you know, not that I wasn't that, but I have a different perspective today of what all that's even about. You know what I mean?
But that's just like a natural process, though, for anybody kind of coming out. Was it kind of similar for you a little bit too, Brandon? Did you kind of experience that too?
Which part?
As far as like coming out of the darkness or coming out of the world, or I don't know if you guys were into, because there's a lot of darker themes. I used to do this, but now I'm this. Did you kind of, you know, whether it was dealing with drugs or alcoholism or witchcraft or anything like that, did you come out of a you know what I'm saying, that kind of background as well when you became a Christian or started doing Christian music? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I grew up in church my whole life. I don't know, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a Christian, but I guess I've been aware of God and, you know, the word and stuff like that my whole life. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely dealt with times where I've fallen away and had to come back and things like that. But I guess, yeah, thankfully I've always kind of known the truth. You know, sometimes I didn't listen.
Been able to find my center.
Right.
Yeah. I started doing Christian hip hop in started messing around probably 2003, 2004. Put out my first album in 2006. And it's kind of hard to go back and listen to that stuff now. Theology-wise, for one, understanding growth spiritually, there is even nostalgia of that. People wish I still did that type of music today, but that's just, you know what I'm saying? Sonically, it's you know, from the, you know what I'm saying, the late 90s or whatever. But even the stuff I'm talking about killing the devil, we're talking about shooting the devil with guns, and you know, there's all, and a lot of it is talking like, almost like maybe, you know what I'm saying, how you guys did the song Low, how it was talking about this scenario of these people, like, hey, you're using people, you're abusing people to get what you want out of life. And there's always like all these songs, and not just me, but there's a lot of Christian music like that of kind of embodying this person who maybe represents the majority of people, you know what I'm saying, on the broad road. And I look back on it now and I cringe at it. For me, do you feel that way a little bit with some of those lyrics? Maybe with Him, because Him is it's a spiritual warfare song. It's a powerful song. But as far as you growing, and I'm not knocking that song is still as powerful today as it was back then, I believe. But as far as your theology and your growth changing, do you look at songs like that and some of the stuff that you brought to the table a little bit differently, or do you respect it, or do you cringe from it?
I've got a sense of respect for it still, and that Hymn song, that the whole idea behind that is just it's essentially a prayer that we would lead off our set with, you know, after it existed, and that's what we would open with, and it was just kind of that spiritual warrior positioning, letting that spirit world know who we are and the authority that we're going to have here in this setting to go forward with the rest of what we've got, sort of thing. Not that I don't necessarily cringe at any of the concepts that were covered. I always tried to, you know, even though at times I may have, you know, been a little bit focused and full of myself, I always tried to have a sense of, I really want to be uttering the words that God would have me say in any of this, you know. You know, and that's not to say that none of myself got in there, but for the most part, I'm comfortable, like, and I appreciate the songs for what they are. And, you know, just like you, I've heard a lot of that story, and coming from the perspective of the people writing it and putting it out as art, sort of, we're doing it, and we're just doing what feels right and what's fun and what seems good. And then to hear stuff like your experience with our music, I've heard similar things to what you've had to say about, like, it was an alternative for somebody coming out of a dark place in their life, and it something really good for them to have, and that alone is really cool to me. And just those people peppered throughout the population. Maybe it's something that they needed right then in their life, and that's the whole reason that this whole unit came together and did what we did at the time. It was all about being, for me, my position was about being an available vessel for God to use. You know what I mean?
That's good stuff, man.
Whatever he wanted to use me for.
Yeah. So like whenever you guys would play, you would open up with him, kind of set the atmosphere. And let me just ask you this, because like, as I'm coming from playing in bands and stuff as well, there was a sense of, especially the Christian bands, whether you're in the bar or whether you're in the church or whatever, a sense where you just kind of, you're that spiritual warrior. But did you guys worship on stage, even to the, to the heavy crunch of the guitar, to the drop D tuning? Was you guys worshiping at, like, playing the music as well, even though it was heavy music? Was that something that happened at all? Or was it more doing?
I don't know that
I never thought of it like that.
I wouldn't say that we were like in a spirit of worship.
Yeah.
It was more so
like what you were saying earlier. Yeah, warfare.
Coming out, coming to lay down a message and make it pretty plain, and have a killer backing track with it, and smash the place, and let it resonate with people, whoever needed, whoever needed to hear it. It wasn't necessarily a worship sort of thing.
Good stuff. Yeah, I could see that though, and but that your words are kind of like permeating the atmosphere and just changing, especially with him, and not just him, but there's so many other songs, but you're just changing the atmosphere or whatever as you're speaking that stuff out. Let me ask you this, because I'm curious as well. The artwork for the debut album, who put that together, the artist, and whose idea, and can you explain a little bit of it? Because that's really interesting. It's good stuff though.
Well, it was a piece of art that we weren't even aware that it was going to be the record, the album cover, until it was decided that was the album cover. And it's really just a piece of art that was pulled from a catalog source, something today that would be like Shutterstock or something. But it was all in like catalog forms back then. These, record people would have their books of art to license and whatnot. And it's just an image from there that they decided was fitting. And I remember like all the people in the band was like, what this art about, man? It's a little bit cartoonish, and
well, it wasn't really even discussed. I think that was the thing, and it was what
that's interesting.
That's
interesting.
Yeah, come from. I did this. Like, I've never even seen this. Or like, it was like, hey, here's your guys' album cover.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
We're like, oh,
yeah, right.
Okay.
Not that like I mean, not that I dislike it. I mean, the concept of the picture is pretty cool, but yeah, it was just kind of odd how it came about, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's pretty iconic though, man. Now, you know what I'm saying? But that is weird that because you guys had some backing or whatever, right? With the label, you guys were signed to Absolute Records. I don't know what all that entails. It definitely put out some decent, music videos that at the time looked like they were pretty high budget, you know what I'm saying? Looked like actors and just the editing skills for the time, you know what I'm saying? What all did that entail with a record label? Like, what perks did you get? You talked about maybe having some people, obviously you guys were in magazines, you guys were getting played on the radio, things like that you kind of have to have a manager and those people to do that. Is that kind of what the record label, you know what I'm saying, brought for you guys? Because back then it held a lot of weight, you know what I'm saying, versus the independent route now where, you can do a lot of that stuff, yourself.
Yeah, it was almost necessary at the time to kind of try to really do something. You're saying what did they kind of bring to the table?
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Yeah, because you hear so much stuff with you know what I'm saying, record deals and a lot of bands, a lot of rappers or whoever starting out, even some people, even being naive now, they want a record deal. They think you've made it if you have the record deal, when now you're talking about as many people as we're reaching right now listening to this podcast, you could do it on your own and without having to be in a hole so many $1,000s. So maybe I'm asking how much, was the budget for that video? What perks did you get? Did you guys have to sign a 360 deal where you got money and then had to pay it back later? Like, what all was an album? You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as a record deal for an early, you know what I'm saying, 99, 2000 Christian artist band.
It was for us. They were a the label put up, or their obligation, I guess I could say, was to cover recording of masters and all the mixing and all that, and then they lined up distribution deals. They did some publicity work, and there wasn't any sort of upfront
money. Like everybody got $10,000 each or nothing. Just all the myths and stuff that people assume for something watching TV.
There was the money that went up front was put forward to like record and produce, and it paid for studio time and whatnot. And that was all like nothing got handed to us. It was all like, show up here on this date and this time, and then do X, Y, and Z. And, here's the schedule of, what this is going on. And we've got there's some interviews lined up, and there's these festivals that want to book you. And
I think that, I don't know, when I talk to people, I guess, about how that kind of stuff works in my mind, I think of it as like, it's like a bank loan. The label's the bank, except for the interest rate a lot worse.
The interest, yeah. I mean, there's a whole thing now with the 360 deal. Everybody gets all this money and they go on tours and all this stuff, even now with artists. But people don't know that those artists have to pay that money back, like all the comps and things that they get, and you have to pay that money back or whatever,
We
did learn a lot, though. I'm really thankful for that experience. I mean, because we thought we knew what we were doing, and we really had no clue. I mean, at least that was my experience. Once we got involved with the label and we kind of started doing everything we were doing with the label, and then you realize how clueless we really were coming into the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. So moving forward, it's probably good to know that guys don't have, because everybody's like, let me drop a couple singles and hopefully I'll get picked up or whatever. And even now, getting picked up by even like somebody like Capitol or like a bigger company that just you kind of sign on for, like, distribution and things like that, if that's even a thing anymore, really, you know what I'm saying? But there's people who want that, but even now they just look at artists who are already, have a, presence online, a social status online, YouTube following, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff.
If you're attractive to them, then that means you already are doing something, or they see something in you of value. So it's kind of like, well, just keep doing what you're doing then anyway.
Yep, that's how it is now.
No,
Absolutely right.
There's a lot of things that, you know, certain groups of, you know, just, it's like any other business. And of course, if a record label sees somebody doing something already that on their meter seems to register good, you know, obviously, if your business is to make money, you know, in the music industry and whatnot, obviously you want to go after people that are already doing stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the same way back in the day. It was kind of the same way. If you weren't out there like working,
right. Yeah, they want to see the effort.
They had, you know, nobody really had an interest in picking you up. And on the whole record label or the deal end of things, I don't know what they're like these days. I don't even know why they need to exist.
Yeah.
But apparently, everyone is different. It's all like individual. Sure, there's probably these parameters that are somewhat, you know, A, B, and C is always part of a deal, but everything is so different for what you're signing. It's like a business deal. You approach, like, say, if we were a record label and we're looking to sign a group, we're going to look at what they're doing, look at what they've done, and if that gets put on the table, the upfront money, you know, then it could become a thing depending on what that artist is doing, you know, but it's not always like cookie cutter.
You're set.
It's all,
like, yeah, if we get signed, we're set type deal. That's what a lot of people think. So
no.
So you guys probably aren't seeing any money even off of the old records now. Are you guys seeing any type of residuals or royalties to this day? No YouTube money, no iTunes, anything coming in?
Okay. That's kind of a complicated thing that we're kind of still trying to work out, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, moving forward now, everything's changed and it's a lot easier. You know what I'm saying? So moving forward. But you know what I'm saying, talking about that and talking about the music video for Low, which was one that I ordered off of the website or maybe even had to write in and send money. I don't know, but I still have it somewhere, the VHS that was sent in the mail with the music video for Low on it, man. So I bought that back in the day, man, and very cool video. You know what I'm saying? Very it seemed like a high budget video. Even now, like you know what I'm saying, going back and revisiting it, it still seems like a high budget video. So kudos that you guys got that out of the deal as well. I mean, there's a whole storyline treatment. It's shot really well over the shoulder with the storyline. A bunch of really cool stuff. Several different several shots of you guys performing and stuff too. So it's cool and it still kind of holds up.
Yeah, it is a decent done video. Well done for, you know, at the time it was way cool. And actually it's fun. You've mentioned it seemed like a high budget video. The story this is a good story. You know, a lot of the music business is, you know, who you know and the right time. And the production company that did that video happened to know the guy that owned the record label. Everybody in the Tennessee music industry, in the Nashville music industry, kind of knows everybody, and that's where our label was out of. And so this production company was really, I think, recently put together, but the guy that was heading it up, he had a lot of experience in video production, and he was going into more music video production with his company. And he was just at the onset, really, of of his company, like starting to grow some legs. And he basically, I think our record label covered like costs associated with some of the production, and then like lunch. But they basically did that video as almost a freebie to our label, because they were putting
it as like
together their own promotional material to say, look, see what we can do, you know?
I never even knew that.
And so and I remember hearing one of the guys on the set towards the end of the day, talking to somebody else saying that was easily $100,000 video.
Huh.
And I was like, wow, that amazed me, first of all, because we spent like not even a full, maybe 10 hours, a 10-hour day. And there was some actors that showed up for a casting call sort of thing, or, you know, hey, you want to be in the video? I'm not even sure if they made any money, you know?
Mm-hmm. Just get your name out there a little bit. Get your face out there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in entertainment.
Hey, I mean, moving forward, I mean, you know, everybody can, you know what I'm saying, work together. You know, if you are a videographer and you're looking, you know, do something for free. If you're trying, I mean, there's a lot of up and coming people in the market now, people who are up and coming, whether you're an artist or you create, you know what I'm saying, you do photo shoots. Hey, let's do a photo shoot, and I'll just tell everybody you did it, and I got so many followers. Like, you know what I'm saying, networking and stuff like that. So that's definitely a way for people to get out there today, you know, because even with that budget, you're talking about $100,000, and there's just crazy budgets that all the major videos back then were. That's like, you know what I'm saying, a low budget for a video, $100,000. People are paying $200,000 and stuff. And then I even heard people saying, well, yeah, I paid this other guy $20,000 and paid, you know what I'm saying, later in the era or whatever. Now you can get somebody fresh out of college who's just a beast with After Effects and get something that looks 10 times better for like $700 or something. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Capitalism,
I think a part
too,
of that
though, right?
too, with the kind of stuff that was being made in the industry too, because the sales were like at their peak or something. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think it's all a big system. I mean, if you're making that kind of money, then people who are doing that kind of work are going to charge that kind of money, and you know, and so on.
I am the media. I'm here to mold you. Oh yeah. Cringy, man, for when I do it. But the music video for Low, like I said, there was you know, there's a lot of different shots that were done, you know, you guys performing in different places. There was one shot with the band playing, and then there was another shot I wanted to ask you, because this shot always stood out to me. There's one shot of the band playing, and the drummer is playing like air drums without his set. Maybe they went to a location and they put that shot in there with him playing without the drums. For some reason, I just remember, hold on, pause that, rewind it. What's going on here? What's the story about the drummer playing the air drums, man? What's the deal with that?
That was, or where that came from, or what?
I don't know either. I don't even remember the incident of him just doing it. I don't know, man.
You know what? I think he used to always do that, like on the sideline, and maybe they just filmed him or something and threw it in there.
Yeah, that's one thing that always stood out to me. That kind
of person, like, do that when we were listening to like playback at the studio or something. It's that kind of a person. Maybe they just filmed him.
Did he ask? Hey, let's get a shot of me behind the band.
You know what? It's very possible. Yeah. That would have been Andy, like, for sure.
Yeah,
yeah, it could have been.
And then you guys are like, "Why is this in the video?"
Right? Yeah.
Put it in. I mean, this was something that was discussed, right? You guys had to have seen it and looked at each other, you know, at the end, like, hey, we're thankful, but this is weird. Was that any of that ever? I'm not the first one who said something about that, right?
I brought that up because I think every time I see it, I'm like,
I know.
What is that?
Yeah.
I don't even. You know what? I can't even picture.
But it's only for like a split second.
I know,
so
right?
it's
And
kinda
that's this second that catches your attention.
funny that you know this, actually, yeah.
I can't picture even where it's at or what it. Like when you
Wow.
brought it up, I'm like, what?
You just
I
blacked
don't
it
know.
out. It was just such. You just had to black it out just so it wouldn't piss you off.
Right?
I'm joking.
That's
Joking, man. It's good stuff. But yeah. So I mean, all of this stuff we're talking about, people. I'm gonna, you know, at the end of the podcast, I'm gonna plug these songs and stuff again, so you guys can go check them out. Check out the older stuff that they put out. It's all available on online on YouTube. You can check that out. I'll plug it. We're gonna get into some of the newer music. This is the first album. We're talking about an album that, like you said, was recorded 18 years ago. But we're going back, reliving some of this stuff like it was yesterday, right? I feel like this is one of the interviews that you guys probably should have did 18 years ago even, right? But we're you know what I'm saying? There's something about nostalgia. There's something about, and I'm gonna get to the fact of, you know what I'm saying, the next album changed a little bit sonically. There was this death of nu metal for a while, but now there's a resurgence. Now I feel like even now someone who's a fan of metal in general can pick up that older stuff and become a fan of it today. Most of the music I listen to is older music anyway. You know what I'm saying? And stuff that I'm just finding that was put out in 1999, and I can't stop listening to it. Like I feel like that album is definitely, you know what I'm saying, one of those albums moving forward. So, but yeah, Fiction was the next release, right? It was the sophomore release. A lot of different sound changes on there. Was there different people involved on the writing and recording process of that album, the second release?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a different drummer and a different one of the other guitar player.
Yeah. Different.
Was changed out, and I think maybe we did some of the writing because there was a short.
So you didn't really play on that album too much, Brandon, or not at all, or how?
Oh, Brandon did all.
Yeah, I've done all. Like I've been a part of all of it. Yeah.
But the other guitar
Guitar
player,
yeah.
From the original album, he was replaced for a time period, and then that guy ended up leaving, and we took on another one, and some of the material from the second record was written like amongst with those two guitar players, and then the new drummer, and he added a new dynamic to the sound of things. The drummer did,
Yeah.
and then the guitar work I think was just maybe a little more mature.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that
From the first,
was in general, just more
maybe
mature,
guitar and vocal stuff.
everything.
Yeah. It was
A little more
different.
grown.
It was different than the first album. I think a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, definitely me, was looking forward to get like a part 2 of the self-titled, and so Fiction was different. I got that, man. I ordered it from the label. I got it in, and I feel like you guys may have not even been together much longer after that release, maybe, or what. I know I didn't hear much from you guys. How much longer did you guys stay together as a band after the release of that album?
You know,
I think we were done before it even came out.
yeah.
Really?
The album. The album was recorded.
Yeah. So there was a big gap
at the end of, or maybe throughout 2001, and it was
second one.
Yeah, and I think it was supposed to be out at the end of 2001, and then it got switched up to
Like 86 or something.
right. It kept getting pushed back to where it was all of a sudden it was going to be like February of 03 or something.
Yeah.
And that
because it was always on the website, but it never came out. Someone says 02.
Right.
Jackie Randall says it was 2002 in the chat.
That's when the second one came out?
No, that's when it was supposed to come out.
Online,
okay,
I think
yeah.
it said 2006. Is that
There was
too far ahead. 2006 is what it said online. One website.
Yeah, when it came out.
Yeah,
but
when
I think
it finally came out. Yeah,
it was like
6
4
or 7.
years between like recording the first one and the second one. So that's what I thought. And then there was like a 2 year between when we recorded it and it came out, or something like that. It was something crazy like that. I don't remember, but
it never got released when the band was still together.
Yeah.
We ended up we were out actually pushing that record, touring, and one of our stops stays at home for a few months at a time. We ended up like losing that guitar player that we had. He's like, listen, this isn't going to work. I need to do something different. I need to make more money in my life, basically. And
oh my gosh.
So that started the crumbling of, like, he left, and then there was an issue that came up with the drummer. And then it was like, it was down to Brandon, Justin, and I again. And we were talking, all right, we got to fill these positions and keep doing what we're doing. And during that time period, it was just a lot of personal stuff going on. I had ended up moving from where I lived, like out of state. But we were still going to try to string this together. And then we catch word that the bass player is leaving to go play with this other outfit. And it's like, oh, well, I guess we're not really a band anymore. I guess we're not doing this. And then it was a few years later that Friction came out, finally released. And, you know, I won't make any comments on that, on that one, but we had long been kind of disbanded when it did come out. And it was a little bit disheartening, the way things went.
Yeah, there's a lot, like, I don't know what happened, you know what I'm saying, with the band and everything. I mean, it's hard keeping a band together. It's a lot more fun than doing the solo thing. I do the solo thing now because of that, right? It's a lot more fun being on stage with a bunch of brothers and being able to glory together. The Bible even talks about that, like when you have victories, you can celebrate together versus just you by yourself, right? But it's hard to keep it together, man. And so, but you know what I'm saying, right when that album came out, when it was released and you guys have broken up, you know what I'm saying, you said a few years before or whatever, there was kind of the death of nu metal, right? Like it just became redundant. Fred Durst was everywhere, like took something and they're just nu metal bands sounding like other bands popping up, and something that was really cool got old really fast. And you started to see a lot of those bands die out because it was more rap influence. I would say you guys, I wouldn't even say that you guys were, you know what I'm saying, rap metal. There was even that term, but it became something that was laughed at, right? Rap core, rap metal or whatever. Yeah. And something that faded out. The hardcore scene, especially the Christian hardcore scene, blew up and took off. There were bands around that time that were starting to transition. And I think a lot of that sound was birthed in the Christian underground scene with bands like Zayo, and then Under Oath, Norma Jean, As I Lay Dying. All of these names are, you know what I'm saying, Emery, Christian bands that took hardcore dancing to a new level. I knew people who would worship and do hardcore dancing, like really get in that warfare. And that was birthed at youth groups and stuff, and then went to bars, and then started to kind of catch on to the secular world. And then so the roles were kind of reversed in that aspect, because it wasn't the Christian bands like, hey man, can we be like a Christian version of these guys? It was almost like the secular guys seeing what the Christians were doing and then responding, okay, we can add killer breakdowns, Haste the Day, brutal breakdowns, man. Those guys, two-step dancing, all of the stuff that kind of changed Christian metal. But with that, it put the nu metal or rap metal on the back burner. And you've seen a lot of those bands struggle to survive. Project 86, a lot of people mentioned Project 86 in the chat. I interviewed Andrew Schwab and had the same conversation with him on the podcast. So everybody go check that out. But, you know, even Project 86, like they changed their style and even almost like denounced, we don't do that. And if we don't rap or whatever, we're not change the style, change the music. Pax 217 that we talked about earlier, he did a lot of rapping, 311 vibe. That faded out. He was into more like post-rock type stuff or whatever. They quit rapping, right? And as that era, it was the end of an era, some of these Christian bands tried to hold on to it, and they got left behind if they did. But if they changed their style, some of them were able to keep going. A lot of bands, sophomore releases kind of fell through. 38th Parallel was a big one. Killer first album, Turn the Tides. They came out with their second album and kind of broke up the same way. Tried to keep it going and couldn't do it. And there's the second album came. It was just totally different. Like trying to stay relevant or whatever when this other, because you're doing festivals where all these hardcore fans are, hardcore kids, and then you're getting up there doing rap metal and they laugh at it. It's just kind of, that was the process. Did you guys?
That would be tough. That would be tough to.
I mean, we never went down that road, so I don't really.
So you guys were done before it kind of switched. Before it kind of switched over, right? You guys weren't trying to, cause you know what I'm saying. Even though it's not rap metal, I don't even think it's rap core. There's rap cadences in your vocal patterns, right? That's definitely there.
Right.
But I wouldn't call it rap core. You guys weren't trying to hang on to any of that with a friction. It was a different album. It sounded totally different. So there was no. You guys weren't drowned it out. It was just kind of some stuff that kind of. Some schisms that happened within the band that you guys disbanded way before that whole tide came, right?
Right. Yeah. Basically.
Did you guys still stay in the scene at all? Because I was want to ask you. I mean, were you doing any other vocals at the time? Did you mess with any other bands? Have you tried any solo stuff like that? Have you guys played with other bands or anything since then?
After the band kind of fell apart. And then I had a lot of personal stuff going on in my personal life shortly thereafter. I ended up moving back shortly after I moved out of state. I moved back. And I kind of, some of the other guys were still doing stuff in music. Brandon was doing stuff in music.
I got more into production. And I mean, I worked on some different projects and stuff, but I guess, more of the production.
I just laid back, didn't do much of anything. I would dabble around with my own, computer stuff and put together, pieces, and I would do some vocal work on it, but I wasn't doing anything with any other.
Yeah. Nothing worth putting out or trying to market or nothing like that. Just kind of experimenting a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until recent. That, I had this vision to, do something more in music. And I actually I did get involved just recently in the past couple of years with getting back to doing vocals. And Brandon and we started communicating again after a long while of not really talking much. And there was talk of, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And he's like, well, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And in those conversations, it was like, well, hey, since we're kind of both looking at doing music, why don't we put some D5D material out there? And that's what
right now
transpired to bring us here, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're here to talk about. Forget all the old stuff. Let's talk about the new music, right? It's iconic, dude. You know what I'm saying? You gotta know where you came from. And like I said, I'm gonna let everybody know to go back and listen to that stuff. But you know what I'm saying? Moving forward with the new music, what can we expect? You guys have a single that's available right now. People can actually go and listen to a single. But how long has it been that you guys have been kind of messing with the idea or even jamming together, writing, recording? How long has this been? We're talking just a few months or a year or so? How long has it been since just even this idea and then starting to kind of move forward with it?
Probably almost a year now.
Yeah, I think we started discussing it, maybe a year ago, but it was a while before we ever got together on it, I guess you could say. But yeah, discussing it, it's been a minute, year, maybe.
Yeah. And putting some material together, writing and getting stuff. This guy's the recording studio master right here, the mix master. And so, yeah, that single has been done for a minute, and we just we decided that we were going to drop it on Christmas for a little Christmas present before the end of the year.
What's the response been so far?
We haven't really heard any feedback. We're going to put up a video shortly to the whole thing and put it up on YouTube and see. But as far as when we dropped it out there, we had a good response off of our email list that responded to it.
I mean,
man,
realistically,
I signed up for this 18 years ago, and I'm finally getting an email.
What?
I said that I signed up for this 18 years ago, and I'm finally getting an email from these guys.
Yeah.
A bunch of, Hotmail and stuff like that. Outlook Express,
Right.
AOL.com email address was popping up in there,
Right, yeah.
Some Netscape.net.
Good stuff, man. So I guess, this is part of getting the word out, right? Doing these interviews and kind of talking about the new music, talking about the vision moving forward. What can we expect from the new album? And this isn't, I'm talking to you about this, but people are going to talk amongst themselves. It has a Stone Sour-esque to it. At least the vocal patterns. I say that as a compliment as far as what I hear sonically. Like, as I'm listening to it as a fan, I'm like, okay, These Five Down put out a new song. Is it going to be, Friction, or is it going to be, the debut? And listen to it. Okay, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of something new, something different to the table. And his vocal patterns, there's less of the cold chamber sound and more of a postmodern rock sound, which is good, and I like it. So kudos to that. I hope you take that as a compliment. That's just, as a listener and as a fan, that's what I hear.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Corey Taylor, man, one of the best vocalists of our time, man.
Right. I like his vocal.
Yeah. I'm doing what I'm doing today, man, I think because of that album, dude. You know what I'm saying? The first These Five Down album. I like to kind of pay homage and, talk about my influence. And as a young Christian, like getting into music and stuff, that music had a big impact on me and my friends. And going to the Christian, like our Friday and Saturday nights were hanging out at the Christian music stores. And they would let you open a CD and listen to it in the store. We're like, hey, check this out. We let them listen to Zayo. No, that's too hard. Dude, check this one out. It sounds like Korn. Let's get it, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So there was so many nights and then so many church youth group guys with piercings and stuff and wearing black band T-shirts and like, hey, and even using it as a ministry tool type, you know what I'm saying? So it's the nostalgia aspect of it all, but I'm excited to hear what you guys are bringing to the table moving forward. I'm excited for it, man. You have a fan in me, and I'm going to do what I can to kind of, you know what I'm saying, let my fan base know about it, because I don't know, if I would be doing what I'm doing stylistically if it wasn't for people like you guys doing it, right? There's a lot of stuff that I bring into my hip-hop that is influenced by the whispers and the, the breakdowns and the build-ups and stuff that was all in the music. And I was and am a fan of These Five Down. Even before I knew that you guys were even working on new stuff. We have a Discord community where we hang out and play music. And I've been letting everybody hear y'all's music in the Discord and playing him. And they're like, people have never heard of it, right? You know what I'm saying? These new Christians and stuff. And it's like, you got to revisit this stuff, man. So
Cool.
I'm excited for you guys moving forward, man. And but let me ask you this about the writing process a little bit. Some of the videos that I've seen of you guys just released in the studio, that little teaser, who's all working on the music? So is it just you two kind of putting the music together yourselves, doing the drum tracking, whether you're using Cubase or Fruity Loops or whatever, tracking the drums that way, or are you guys layering all the music yourselves, kind of working on it, or do you have other people coming in, laying bass riffs and doing the drums and stuff like that?
I think we're kind of experimenting really with different ways of going about it. We talked about having other people involved, maybe other guys that were apart, in the past, maybe for a song. I thought it'd be cool to maybe do a song with each of the guys that were involved before or something. One song with, this guy that was a part, like the song with him. We threw around, a few different ideas, but as of now, it's not really a live band type of thing. It's, it's more like a writing session, recording thing. I don't know what it'll be like. I mean, I'm open for whatever. I think it'd be cool to do that too. It'd be like, hey, let's write some material in a room with with 5 guys and the amps all the way up, and
yeah,
I'm up for really. Yeah, a good song. That's my opinion. But
So far that single that we've released, that's been put together essentially by him. It's an old song. We were opening up our set when we were out pushing the second record with that song.
Wow. Really?
And it never, not really sure why it didn't, maybe it was budget, maybe it was other reasons, but the label, I'm not even sure if we recorded it, but they were aware of it.
it's not exactly
didn't
the
make
same,
but didn't make it to the record. So we figured he picked it apart. I'm sure he maybe remembered some of the stuff, but we pulled it off of a video that somebody had put up of a live performance of ours. And we used that audio, and he picked it apart and kind of put it back together again.
it's not exactly the same, but that's, it's like 80% there, or, something of what it was.
But it's a new recording, though. It's an old song, but a new recording, right?
Right. Yeah, there's some changes to it. Right. Some little changes, but yeah. Well, I think in our, we had been talking about it for like a year now. I think in the beginning, we were all excited about just working on some new music. But then when you get into like how you had mentioned nostalgia a few times, initially it was like, oh, it'll just be exciting to do some stuff again, work together again, do some new stuff. But then I think it can be easy to kind of overthink it because of the history of the group. And, then you have the other two out, like if you were to go out and start a new project tomorrow, there's really no expectations of anything.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of like balancing that, but it kind of goes back to our roots. What were we doing then? We were just making stuff that we like. So, I mean, if we just stick to that, whatever that is today,
Well, what's the?
Right.
I mean, what's the name of the man? The name of the band mean? What does These 5 Down mean?
we had that question a lot back in the day, and
They want us like a spiritual explanation. 5 guys who are down with Jesus.
It really is.
It was. I mean, that's how it was back then. Yeah.
When there wasn't a spiritual meaning behind the band, some people were like, seriously,
Yeah.
you just their whole countenance shifted. Like, what? I can't believe. Like, they just couldn't believe that there was no spiritual significance to the name. There's really not. We just thought it was cool. Just like the music we were doing, we thought it was cool. We thought the name was cool and it fit. And it was a phrase that came out in conversation. And when we would tell people how it came about, some people would be like heartbroken. Like they were expecting
Yeah.
some huge.
And y'all didn't make up
insight.
any stories? Y'all didn't make up any stories? Because I mean, we were in the Christian bands and we had some weird names and I remember hearing our guitarist make up some. We actually had a band called 6 Hours Frail. 6 Hours Frail, and I remember hearing him saying there was Jesus hung on the cross for 6 hours or something. It was just like he would tell people, and it was like, man, this is crazy. So did y'all have did anybody try to explain to their grandmother or the pastor? Yeah, I mean, there was no stories or nothing like that.
No, it was always pretty much a brief. Hey, it kind of applies to there's 5 guys in the band. Mm-hmm. We're all down with each other, down with what we're doing. These 5 down,
What's interesting is it didn't even come from the 5 guys in the band. It was about like writing songs. But I think people, when they hear it, they automatically assume that it had to do with that there was originally 5 people in the group.
Even if there's 6 people in the group moving forward or 2 moving forward,
right?
Stick with the name.
Anyways, but but people always assume that. That's what I think that's just what people automatically assumed.
Well, the single that's out is called "The Coming of the Sun." And I know time has a way of changing people, your beliefs and structures, and we kind of covered that just a little bit. So it's kind of, I don't know if I would say a preachy song, but there's images of like angels and Jesus and devils and stuff like that, and even the old stuff was kind of really strong spiritual in your face themes. Some people have kind of backed away from that, of being less preachy and more allegory, more let me just show you how I live, let me just tell you about my trials as a Christian type deal. Is it so? Are you guys moving forward? Is it going to remain a quote unquote Christian band or Christians in a band? Which are you? I need to know right now. Those type of questions.
We've always kind of sort of been the Christians in a band sort of mentality. That's kind of been our approach since the beginning. And have you ever
been asked that other than, are you a Christian band or Christians in a band? Like that was a thing. Right?
Wow. Yeah. It's kind of quite the talking point, it seems, when you're in a Christian hard rock band. Yeah. If you're not doing church music, there's this different line of questioning.
Well, I don't know how Nate feels about it, because he's the vocalist and he writes the lyrics, but I'm a musician, so I don't really feel like I don't feel like I have a ministry, if that's what you want to call it. I don't feel like I'm a preacher that does music. So I guess I don't really think about it like that. Mm-hmm. But, since he does the lyrics, maybe it's different for you.
It's not like
I mean, I don't know if my guitar is saved. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's a believer.
Look, man, I knew gospel rappers who wouldn't purchase instrumentals and beats from secular artists. If they made a fire beat, or it had to be a Christian who made that track to rap on. Yeah.
And that's cool if that's how, if that's what somebody, if that's their preference, and they just want to work with, Christian artists or whatever.
Mm-hmm. That's all good. Supporting that. I totally get that. Supporting that. Like, you're a believer, you want to support other believers, and I totally get that.
Well, they didn't want to get possessed by any spirits. That was the funny thing.
I think so, like, lyrically, there's some metaphorical sort of stuff, but there's also some straight up just in your face with what's being said. And I feel like it's not anything that is going to be foreign really to anybody that it hits. There's going to be a familiarity to some of what's being said, and it'll resonate with people, whether they identify as a Christian or not. sort of thing, they'll be able to, maybe some people will be able to just respect what the piece of music is for what it is. Now, in terms of like Coming of the Sun, yeah, there's a lot of, really it's, I mean, I guess that's a pretty bold, straightforward line.
Yeah,
you know, you never thought that you'd miss seeing the end start, and you know, just that whole theme of the end time thing and the coming of the sun. But you know, throughout it, if you really kind of pay attention, it's really asking, what are you doing with your life? You know, what are you doing with your life today? And I know there's people out there that have thought about the concept of, you know, the return of Christ and the end times, the end of the world. I mean, that's mainstream like themes in everything right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's not like it's going to be, I guess people will be able to identify, I think, whether they identify with being of Christian beliefs or not. They'll be able to identify with the lyric. I think.
Is there some more stuff? So I know this is an older song, just you know what I'm saying, re-recorded, put out or whatever. Do you have new material? Are you currently writing for some new stuff that you're working on? Is it kind of coming out the same? You know what I'm saying, vocally?
There's
We have quite a few tracks in the works, yeah.
And there's a mix. There's a mix of there's a little bit heavier, a little bit you know, throwback to the old, you know, kind of as far as vocally, a little more aggressive than this Coming of the Sun.
Yeah.
This was more of a, see, back in the day, I kind of viewed Coming of the Sun as like almost another rendition or a similar piece to Him as far as its heaviness.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a really heavy song. I mean, it is for what it is, but it's, I guess it's on the softer side of what we're known for.
Were you or are you a Cold Chamber fan? Was that an influence at all on the
Oh
early
yeah.
stuff?
I really liked Cold Chamber a lot.
Yeah.
A whole lot. Yeah. and apparently they had a big influence on my vocal style.
Everybody knows it. I just got to see last year. My wife got me tickets for my for Christmas, and we went last year, I believe it was, and went to Atlanta and seen Orgy and Power Man, and that was good stuff. Good
nice.
stuff. And you got the Power Man influence as well. I definitely hear Spider Zombie in your vocals too, but we also hear Nate, so it's all good.
Right.
Yeah, so excited about that. I wanted to ask you just a little bit too about touring or whatever, like some of the experiences on the road, playing with other Christian bands or whatever the case is in general. How many shows do you think you guys did together?
I have no idea.
A lot.
It was a lot because there's not a lot of proof online anymore, right? I remember even seeing some stuff. Did you guys play at the Revelation Room with Travail one year? I feel like I remember seeing in Texas, I think it was.
It's possible. It
sounds familiar.
We were
the Purple Door, maybe a place called the Purple Door.
All over the country, man. Yeah. All over the country for a couple of years, and it was good times. I couldn't tell you how many shows there were, or
who was on it. Yeah,
right.
It was all a blur. It was all a dream. Well, man, I'm excited for you know what I'm saying, new material. Somebody, Adam in the chat says we need to have a TruthSeekah These 5 Down song. We need to make it happen, man. I need to send you something to get on, man. Get on a track with me. Rip it up. on a hip hop song.
Cool.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Make it happen.
Actually,
Go ahead.
no, never mind.
What, you gonna say something about a hip hop song that you were working on?
No, I was gonna bring something up, but it's kind of irrelevant. But that's my style. So
I guess the plans for the new stuff though is we're kind of writing, completing one at a time kind of thing. That's kind of, I guess, the modern way. Kind of releasing them as they come together. I guess then you don't feel rushed to, have 10 songs that, only 2 of them are good.
Yeah.
Just with the way the industry's changed, that's kind of what we're thinking, I guess, as of now. And then we were kind of shooting for it. We'd like to try to have something every month. I don't know if you want to talk about some of the concepts or ideas for that.
Essentially our attempt is going to be to put out at least a single each month. We've got some other ideas as far as like video stuff that's going to coincide with the singles. And we want to give, I guess, with the whole new media scene and kind of a mix of both of our interests, we want to give more than just music. We're going to do videos with each track. That's more my ballpark of things. I'm into that realm of media, and it'll be cool, if we can get it all correlated and do that, once a month, drop a single and a video, and just kind of see what unfolds. I've even talked to Brandon about maybe putting together a regularly scheduled like video show, podcast, a certain time each month, or maybe a couple times a month, because this is the new media landscape. You've got to be present and interact.
Yeah.
With who's out there paying attention, and that's how you get more people paying attention, right?
Yeah.
And there's so much stuff. I guess it's hard to say what the future holds, but we've had people already ask us about touring and shows.
We're ready,
and,
man. We're ready.
Yeah. And book show dates, and it's exciting, and we're excited for whatever may come, but we're trying to stay we got to have some material first. We need to stay focused on that.
Yeah,
right.
That'd be good.
For the time being.
Yeah. So what do you?
We've talked about.
Go ahead.
We've talked about ways that we might be able to, if that idea rolls into a realm of possibility, playing shows or any of that. We've talked about possible solutions to a show if it stays the two of us, or if there's more added on for a live show.
I've been to many a show without a bass player, and they're going to a backing bass track that sounds like a live bassist there, and other stuff incorporated as well. So it's a thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right, and it can work these days. Mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. That's a whole other subject, is how that became way more acceptable. I worked on a project, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and there was a lot of backing tracks and pre-recorded stuff, and I felt like at that time it was not really acceptable. It was like people expected everything to be live, and then it's like how things have changed now.
Yeah.
Where the DJ has just exploded, and now it's became the norm. People don't really they don't think like that anymore.
Even if everything's unplugged and they're acting like they're mixing stuff,
right,
and everybody's just into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
These DJs, some of these DJs are some of the biggest acts around right now, and I mean they
They're
got
just
a
standing
laptop.
there. They're just
play.
throwing their hands up. Yeah, and they're making a killing. They're making a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just crazy how much that's changed. Because like I said, I don't know, 10 years ago, I mean, I wouldn't want to be that guy on stage. You probably had stuff thrown at you.
I deal with it now, man. I deal with it now with the hip hop. So there's a ton of stuff that I do in my vocals that I produce this sound that I love. I mean, there's whispers going in different, and this is over hip hop music, right? Whispering. I'll do a regular track, and then there's a whisper track. Maybe even screams in a hip hop song. There's so much I do. There's auto tune with my singing that's not the best, but I can get it to where I like it. Then trying to pull it off live, and then doing the whole song or even a whole set. I'm honest, I can't pull that stuff off. It's too hard. So there's stuff that I can do in the studio that's amazing. It sounds, and you can punch. If I run out of breath, I can punch in the studio. Hey, let me try that again. Punch in, run with it, and I'm throwing all these syllables together that I cannot do live. I'm gasping. There's no inflection in my voice because I'm trying to get everything out, man, because I try to speak with such power, and it's hard to do live. So even in the hip hop, there's this thing, hey, those guys are using backing vocals, or you're not. They just want to play the beat and then expect you're going to get a really bad show if I have to do that. And I've tried it. I'm still experimenting of how much of a backing track, maybe only the chorus, maybe only the rhyming words, but it's a thing too, especially with underground hip hop, because they want to see if you really got skill. Can you really do it? And I'm like, I can't, bro.
There's, right. Still about the rap, the whole rap battle mentality. Yeah. They want to see what kind of bars you have on the fly, and just a different thing.
Yep. And I've even, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I remember just seeing in the local scene, Bone Thugs and Harmony, right? They came and did a show locally several years back, and they had several local rappers opening up for them. And then the next day, there was just all this trash talk on the freaking living legends, Bone Thugs and Harmony, how they had backing tracks. Oh, they're cheating, man. I can't believe that, man. They're just lip syncing. And they're not lip syncing. They're doing it with a backing track and stuff. But it's just so weird how, some people don't play about that. It's really weird, this place that we're in now. I guess it's just whatever scene. Yeah. It's people. Yeah, it just depends.
Yeah, there's it's it's one extreme to the other. You see it. Yeah, you see it all.
It's definitely become more and more accepted in today's music scene, right? But more than it was, say 18 years ago.
I wouldn't dare go up there and do some of the stuff you see now that people love. You get booed off stage, you get stuff thrown at you. Yeah, right.
Good stuff, man. Well. Was there anything that we didn't talk about that you guys wanted to mention at all? Any subjects that you wanted to bring up, whether it's dealing with the music, whether it's dealing with spirituality? I mean, have your beliefs, I mean, beliefs normally change. If they're not changing, then something's wrong, right? You're doing more research, you're living life, you're having experiences or whatever, so things change. So you guys, like I said, moving forward, it's going to be still a Christian band or whatnot, but is there any books or any philosophies, anything that has inspired you or helped you over the years or anything like that? Or is it just strictly the Bible? How do you feel spiritually moving forward? Both of y'all.
I think I'm in a far different place today than I was then. I'm in a different place than I was 3 years ago. And I think it's a far better place. I look at some of my beliefs that were kind of taught,
handed down,
or that I grew up around, that I just kind of grabbed onto, and as far as I think I am a lot better off spiritually where I am today, which, that's a good thing because there has been growth. I'm a far different person all around. I can say today that I am surely a different person than before, and it's only because of God and His enlightening and His teaching of my spirit along the path that I've walked pursuing that, and it's good, it's real good where I'm at. And, as far as like, I don't know, philosophical, there's so many things out there available as far as philosophical lines that could be followed. And, truth rings true in everyone's heart.
Yeah.
And in their spirit, they know truth when they hear it. And so there's truth out there within a lot of philosophies, that I've looked at anyway. And I've come to view even the Bible as, it contains God's word and God's truth. But I view it a lot different than what I used to. And I see far more, I guess, in spiritual depth than I used to. And I don't know if that's because of my external sources outside of, the Bible in the pursuit of truth, and knowledge. But I guess that's kind of a roundabout summary of.
But still faith in Christ for the most part, or this Jesus figure of dying for the sins of humanity.
For sure. I think that
is that the foundation, and it's going to remain the foundation. Everything's just kind of built on top of that.
Right. There's no removing Christ out of being the center of what a spiritual life should be. And it's funny, look at some of the other major religions that know the character, and I guess I shouldn't even say major religion. I think everyone out there that has any sort of sense of a spiritual life, they know the Jesus figure or Christ. They know what it's about, or they have an idea of what it's about and what it stands for. But yeah, in my view, Christ has to be at the center, right? Because he came to be the light. He came to offer us a life more abundant, a full life. And that's just, I don't know. You look at the stuff that Jesus taught, man, and I can't help but to think that if we just kind of walked in those teachings and we were the people that he was, if we were the kind of people that he was, man, what a world this would be,
Yeah, that's good, man. That's cool. That's cool. You say that the other religions at least point back to the light or something like that. But I've always thought it really cool because like there's all this stuff now about people trying to disprove the fact that Jesus never existed, right? And he was a fable or whatever made up. And there's documentaries like the Zeitgeist and say he's borrowed from another religion or the sun cults or whatever. And a lot of that stuff can shake your faith. It shook mine for some time, but really took me deeper in what I believe and made me prove what I believe. And I think it's healthy to have your faith shaken, just so you know it's not handed down. I really had an encounter with a type of being that is Jesus or whatever, and it led me to God or whatever when I was at my lowest. That's my foundation. Everything else is on top of that. It's obviously his name wasn't Jesus, right? He never responded to that name. He never heard that, but it's the figure that responds. It's the light, you know what I'm saying? And he responds to that, and then we call upon that name, the name of Jesus, the name of light, the highest vibration. But to look at the other religions, man, like they all try to like lay claim to Jesus. Like the Hindu, like he's either in their holy book or saying, hey, yeah, we know who he is. He existed. He was here. He taught. He was a prophet. He did many good works. Or like there's people saying that, the Hindus, they have shrines built to say, yeah, he came here and he learned under our yogis for so many years. And there's even shrines to Mother Mary, and they say her body's buried there. And there's all this veneration from all these other, whether you want to call them pagan or whatever nations. They're like, yeah, we know who Jesus is, right? And they all are like kind of proving the existence because they're he's in their stories and stuff too. And I thought that was always somewhere cool. These outside sources kind of reaffirming that there was some, even if they're making it up, they're all just trying to, say that he was there or whatever. I always thought that was cool.
Right.
What about you, Brandon?
What?
As far as Brandon, as far as your spirituality and Christian beliefs or whatever beliefs in general, do you still hold true? Is it pretty much the same? Have you gone deeper studying, or where are you at spiritually with that?
I don't know. I think life's a journey. I mean, you live and you learn. I mean, it sounds generic, but it is. It's like things I struggled with 10 years ago. I think I came to terms with, and God's been there the whole time. But then you come up against new challenges that I didn't know existed 10 years ago. And it's a solid journey, really. He's the one thing that's always there. It's always true that he's always there. And I'm just sticking with that.
Good stuff, man. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Good stuff, man. Well, I'm excited moving forward to hear new material from you guys, and maybe having you guys back on the show when there's an official release of an album or something like that. Whatever. I'm here to network with you guys and be friends. So a bunch of people in the chat have already started pulling up the music, and a lot of people. Bauman says, dope music, guys. I've just checked it out. I love it. Definitely going to be bumping y'all. There's a bunch of other comments here, but Adam Starseed Bay says he remembers you guys from back in the day. He said one of his favorite bands was Bride back in the day, but good stuff, man. So
yeah, Bride guys, and us getting together and starting this going again. It's been really cool because we've ran into and reconnected with so many people already that it's like, where's all the time gone? Like you said, to think about how long it's been, and just because life's crazy. You lose touch with people and things change, and it's been really cool just in that sense, just reconnected with a lot of people, and where are you at now? How you been? Just all these people.
Are you getting a lot of the nostalgia? I mean, I live for nostalgia, so I'm sorry if I sound redundant, but I only listen to like 90s music, and I listen to stuff from the 90s that I didn't listen to when I was a kid, like the stuff I hated. Now I love it, like I loathed it or whatever. Country music, I don't care what it was. If it's something from that, it brings you back, right? Of a time that was a little bit more simpler, right? And it kind of brings you back where you didn't have bills and all this other stuff and whatever. The nostalgia of that, and that's just the power of music, man. It almost acts as a time machine to take you back and relive memories, and the power to kind of make you, people come in. I mean, early on for people who became believers back then. It reminds them of them coming out the world in those early days of falling in love with Jesus and the first Christian metal album they bought, These Five Down, or how they found it and where they were at when they did. So that's really cool too. And then you guys were a part of that. And if that's it, if it stopped today, if it ended today, to just bask in that and to know like literally how much power that had for somebody, maybe even to change their life, right? When they heard your music, there's those stories too. Your music saved me. Your music, led me to research and go deeper. I remember when I was playing in Christian hardcore bands, there was a kid in the scene years ago, and he was listening to all those bands that I named. It was all the hardcore bands like Norma Jean, Under Oath, As I Lay Dying, all of those guys, Me Without You, and it just hit him. And he'd been listening to those bands and playing music, and you've seen people at shows in the scene. Like, you only seen them at the show, but they were your friends when you were there, and you maybe got their numbers or whatever. But I remember building a friendship with this guy. His name was Kyle. And he was listening to Under Oath, Norma Jean, all that kind of stuff. And then finally, he was an unbeliever. He was an atheist. And he's listening to nothing but these Christian metal bands who were great, phenomenal bands. And he called me one day, like in tears. He said, "Bro, what? I don't know what's happening. It all makes sense now. Like, all of these bands that I was listening to for a year, months at a time, they've all been singing about Jesus, and I never knew it." And it just hit him as this deep revelation of like, man, and he's like, wanting to pray together and wanting a Bible and stuff. And I led him to the Lord, and it was just like something that small, he didn't know. Cause I mean, the message was a little bit different. It wasn't, Jesus in every song, but it finally hit him. He had that revelation. And that's the power of music, man. You know what I'm saying? And I get to experience that with my music with people, and you guys too. And like, that's so powerful. Like, words, that's the biggest compliment of like, you guys killed it, or I love your riffs. It's like, man, something moved inside of me when you shared your story or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I live for. I love that stuff.
Cool. It's cool that you can play a part in. It's cool to think that something you did, something you put together, impacted on an emotional level and a spiritual level somebody that much that you had a hand in maybe opening some spiritual eyes in somebody else's life, in somebody else's spirit. That's a really cool thing. That's a really cool thing to be a part of.
Do you guys ever, and I'm gonna pull this up right quick. Do you guys ever, I don't know if you do, but do y'all go to YouTube videos and read the comment sections for some of y'all's old videos and stuff?
Yeah, I have.
It's been a while, but I have.
I'm actually gonna take off, man. I gotta head out. We'll reconnect again soon. You're gonna hang out, right?
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here in the next minute anyway. So I appreciate you hanging out with us, Brandon.
Yeah. All right.
Much love, man.
I didn't realize. Yeah, it's great talking.
All right, brother. Peace. Yeah. What I'm just there's people in the comment section here on some of these videos that they're going back and promoting, and that's what I was gonna say. Just as far as like the nostalgia or whatever of it all, like back then you really. Like, you had to actually meet the person or hear their story versus, like, now you put out a new piece of material or go read these comment sections, and there's people from all over the world who have experienced These Five Down and the impact that it had on their lives, and you can go and read those comment sections there. So that's really cool. It's like a time capsule too. So
I know I browsed through some of them. It's been some years since I actually went and looked. But I do recall like going through and seeing some commenting, and some of the things people were saying, and it is really cool.
And a lot of this is recent comments too. So there's people revisiting it. So I think that moving forward, putting out new material. I think people are waiting for some stuff, man. So that's gonna be good.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's exciting for us, and it's cool that it's exciting for some other people out there waiting.
Good stuff. Well, awesome, man. Well, Nate, I appreciate you hanging out with me as well, man. Like I said, a big fan of the music, and just recently I remember showing it to people maybe 2 weeks ago in our chat, showing them some of that stuff. So it's really cool to finally get to connect with you, and look forward to some of this new material coming out. Look forward, man. If you're up, dude, like I would love to get you on a song, man. Something that would fit, you know what I'm saying, more of your style. So I'll probably, when we get off of here, go through some of my stuff and see if I got something I can send you, man. It'd be cool moving forward and help you promote some of it too.
Cool.
So.
That'd be fun.
Heck yeah, man. So,
I'm up.
Sounds good, brother. All right, these5down.com. They can check out the new single there. Is it on iTunes or anything yet, or is it just direct download?
Not yet. It's just on our site. We're going to be doing some stuff to get it out to all, all the distribution points and in all the stores and all the, it'll be there, but it's not yet.
Cool.
Kind of in a pre-release sort of stage at the moment.
Yeah, just kind of testing the waters a little bit. But yeah, everybody can go to these5down.com and check out the new song. There's merch there as well. Also, those songs, I was letting you guys know, go back and listen to some of the older stuff to kind of get a feel for who they are, what they bring to the table. Check out the Low video. The song Him, freaking classic. Make sure you guys go check that out too. Revelation War, Media, all that kind of stuff. So, Nate, appreciate it, man. Let's do it again soon, brother. I enjoyed it.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate you having us on and all this. It was cool. It was cool to be a part of it.
Good stuff, man. I'll send you everything when it's done, man. And so have a good night. We'll do it again soon.
All right, you too. Take it easy.
All right, God bless.
Thanks, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Nate and Brandon from the band These Five Down. Good stuff. Make sure y'all go check out their music. Check out the new single that just is posted on their website. I've already purchased it. Make sure you purchased it. Tell them TruthSeekah sent you. Let them know that you heard them on this podcast. And so I hope y'all took something away from that as well. So we talked about a lot of good points, and then kind of driving home the the spirituality, the spiritual aspects of it. I mean, maintaining your faith is a big thing throughout the years. I mean, studying philosophy, reading other books or materials, or having struggles in your life personally, maintaining the delicacy of that relationship with Christ, man, and never forgetting that, no matter where you go. Like I say, that's the foundation. Everything is built upon that. And there's really no deeper truth that you're seeking that's going to get any deeper than Christ crucified and what that does, the transformation of a person's heart, man. That's so beautiful. So it's awesome to see how even over the years, tested and tried, and, people around you fall, people around you, doubt you and talk down. And there's all types of just the winds and waves of life that come up and happen. And so to maintain the delicacy of that faith, man, and you have to fight for it. You have to really believe and prove that you believe. And if you believe it, it should be something practical in your day-to-day life that helps you get through hard times, that helps you when you feel alone, all of that kind of stuff. So really good stuff. These Five Down, check them out. Want to give a shout out. I don't know if I did it on the last podcast or not, but I want to give a shout out to Christy Johnson and her family. They I got a letter full of little Christmas cards that her and the kids made for me and my family. So thank you so much for taking the time out and sending that. That was so beautiful. Also to Brett Stacy, who sends me like fan mail and just like buys me stuff off of like Amazon all the time. But he sent me this T-shirt. It's this I think it's give me 1 second. Hold on. Okay. He sent me this T-shirt here, and I'm going to show you guys who are on the live stream. But it's just this random shirt they just sent in. But it's this picture, if those of you who are watching on the screen, you can see it. Those of you who are listening to this, I'm going to describe it. It's a picture of Jesus hanging out with Batman, Superman, all the DC characters, I guess it is, all the superheroes. And then he says, it's Jesus with them. And he says, that's how I saved the world. So, cool shirt, Brad. Thank you for the fan mail, brother. It's awesome. You rock. Wanted to make sure I give a shout out to you guys for doing that. If you'd like to send anything in the mail, the address is in the description of the video. 333 P.O. Box 333. Yes, I was able to purchase that P.O. Box 333. I have an album by the same title. P.O. Box 333, Creola, Alabama. Jump to these comments here. Thank you guys for hanging out with me too live. That's awesome. Tiger King, shout out to you, brother. Grim, what up? Grim is late. Better late than never, brother. Irk, what up? Says much love. Sidhastra says that shirt is awesome, no doubt. Jesus Christ, the original Superman. Speaking of rap metal, there was a band called Pillar who was out probably about the same time as these Five Down, maybe probably a little after. They were more, I don't know, maybe Limp Bizkit-esque, I guess, maybe. But they had a song called Jesus Christ. It was called Superman, and it was about Jesus Christ, the original Superman. Kryptonite can't slow him down. Nothing can at all. Jesus Christ, the original Superman. But, yeah, good stuff. Shout out to Jackie, Bach Bauman, Adam Starseed Bay, Caitlin, and Bobby. How y'all doing? Thank you for joining us in the chat. Kurt, CT Alchemist, which is my brother Chad. Renee Ruiz, Jonathan Santiago. I wore his shirt like 2 podcasts ago. I got one of his shirts. Make sure y'all check out his podcast as well. Jonathan Santiago Ra. John Santiago Ra. Jackie says hello there. Yeah, everybody hanging out with us live. Jeremy Pick, what up? Yep. And thank you guys again for all the support. Birthing this new music, the new album Colors. I'm already working on some other new stuff that's going to be released on Patreon very soon. As soon as I get a feature back from Watchmen, it's going to go up. We got a song called Voices. It's going to be up really soon. So make sure that you guys look out for that. But all this stuff's available on my Patreon, patreon.com/TruthSeekah. You get access to our Thursday night School of the Mystics. You get access to my entire discography. For like $5, you get to download 200 plus songs. Why not? And or $10, $20, whatever you want to do, whatever your heart desires, whatever you can do. So I'm getting a lot of great feedback on the meditations too. That's just opened up a whole new door of creativity, of healing, of encounter with God. Like those meditations, I've done 2 of them so far, and they're both near and dear to my heart. Of being able to tap into in prayer the Father's heart and take you on a journey to this place where you meet God through this journey, just like a visualization. It's like watching a movie or something, but it's watching a movie within your mind. Painting these pictures of taking you on into an encounter of ancient Israel, into the tabernacle of Moses and the temple, and literally like biblically accurate description of what you saw, what the colors were, the animals that were there, the people, the priest, what they were wearing. And I'm kind of describing it as these sound effects are going on. You hear the animals, you hear children playing, laughing. The priests greet you and say hello, welcome, and it's really in depth. And I hired voice actors to come in and play roles in the interactive guided meditation. And so I encourage you to check it out. It'll change your life. For a fact, every person who've heard it has usually come back to me in tears, and that's a blessing, the highest blessing, that God spoke to them through that encounter. So it's called the Throne Room Meditation. It's available in the description. You can check it out there. But yeah, you go into a place where you encounter God through the Holy of Holies and into heaven, into the literal throne room of God, and you see the 4 living creatures, and interacting with angels, and then with the Father, and who has a message for you in the meditation. So if that sounds interesting to you, check that out. Also, our Discord is available if you're looking for community. You want to talk and meet up with like-minded people. Our Discord is in the description as well. You can get that on your computer or your smartphone, and it's really cool. We can take advantage of this technology and use it for good. Bring people together. That's what it's about. So that's pretty much it. Make sure you guys stay tuned in what I'm doing. I'm doing a lot more client coaching as well for different things. Like, I have a lot that I offer, whether it's helping people get started in their own business, online business, start their own podcast. People who are having who are needing like counseling and sessions like that, one-on-one for healing and stuff. And I've been offering that. I've been doing a lot more lately. So if if you need help with anything like that and you would like to consult me on a one-on-one basis, that is available on my website as well, TruthSeekah.com. Whether it's you need help putting together a website, you guys listen to the podcast, you know what I do, a little bit of all of it. So a lot of new stuff coming in 2019. I'm going to get some courses ready, and I'm going to really show you guys how to do what I'm doing here, forming your own video cast and converting it into a podcast, and then getting it on your website and driving traffic, everything that comes in line with that. I'm working on that right now, the podcast masterclass. And then after that, there'll be some other group sessions that we do outside of the School of the Mystics, whether it be kind of intentional, whether it's group meditations, holotropic breathing and pranayama, things like that, which I've been doing on a one-on-one basis with some people, and I'm ready to do it with some group settings as well. So if that interests you, make sure you subscribe to the email list so you get notified when all that stuff comes out. So without any other delay, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Thanks for hanging out with me on this impromptu episode of the TruthSeekah podcast. Good night and God bless. Bye-bye.
Your way so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.